Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. Upon researching just how bad the NFC East is in 2019, I figured out how the Miami Dolphins could still win Tank Bowl Perna. Well, some article figured it out, and I'm too lazy to cite them. But this is my discovery. Put my discovery right up there with the wheel, with electricity, and with the guy who just knew the internet was the ultimate destination for free porn. The NFC East is on pace to tie the 2008 NFC West for worst overall division record through a season. I will also tell you how Miami can win Tank Bowl without seeing the Bengals win 2 of their last 3 games, and it's all about what the Giants do. Part of which the Dolphins control. Let's get sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want more football coverage in your YouTube feed. Also, I have a Patreon shout out for Kenny Knight, who is going through a tough time right now. He's a new Patreon donor, and he lost his mom Sherry and his grandpa James recently. And he sent me a message on Patreon, a really nice message, way too nice for me, Kenny. But I hope you are doing well, man. I am sorry to hear that you are going through a tough time right now. I don't know how this shout out will help with that, but consider this a biggest of dickest shout outs for you, Kenny. Also, additional shout-outs for Sam Garcia Jr. And I didn't even like football that much until I started watching That's Good Sports for upping to $5 and Ralph Lebinger. Now the New York Giants lost an ugly game in overtime to the Eagles in what could be the last time we ever see Eli Manning play.
Eat that W, Philly!
Except I think we will see Eli play next season for a different team, or hell, even this weekend, depending on how bad Daniel Jones' high ankle sprain really is. With that loss, though, Eli now has a losing record at 116 games to 117 games lost, but also became one of just 5 QBs to throw at least 40 touchdown passes of at least 50 yards, joining Peyton, Brady, Breeze, and Favre. And that is how I sound trying to hold in a burp. Nothing good has come from the NFC East this season, except for Eli Manning throwing a couple bombs on Monday Night Football when the entire world was rooting for him to do so, and Darius Slayton looking like the silver lining for the Giants offense moving forward. The Washington Potatoes have given the football world nothing. The Eagles have no secondary, and none of their good receivers can stay healthy, which has led to Carson Wentz struggling all season long. The Cowboys can't beat any good teams despite being healthy and having all of this talent on their roster, which we are force-fed with the maximum amount of primetime games a team is allowed to have year after year. And the one thing you could bet on with the Giants and running back Saquon Barkley has been either more injured than he's leading on, a victim of having to play with a young quarterback who doesn't know how to put him in optimal running situations with calls at the line, or is in a sophomore slump. Probably a mix of all three. The Eagles, with that win last night, are tied with the Cowboys atop the NFC East with their mutually losing 6-7 records. Sure, one team will get to host a playoff game, which, like mutual masturbation, is satisfying, but never as good as the real thing, especially when you can see it right there in front of you. The Giants now have to probably fire an ineffective head coach, and then figure out what to do with the 2nd overall draft pick, assuming they stay on track with their current 2-11 record. I'm also assuming that pick will be Chase Young, because I'm also assuming not even the Bengals will be dumb enough to pass on Joe Burrow. The interesting thing to watch now is the Giants, who host the Dolphins Sunday in a surprise Tank Bowl matchup nobody really saw coming. Miami just lost to the Jets, and all eyes were on the Dolphins-Bengals December 22nd matchup for all of us who love shitty teams playing shitty teams, until the Dolphins started to screw that up by beating teams like the Eagles and the Colts and amassing a tank-destroying 3-win record, which, with a 2-11 record owned by the Giants, now makes the game with the 3-10 Dolphins tank relevant. The Dolphins now only have an 8.5% chance to pick first overall in the draft, Miami currently selects 4th behind Cincinnati, New York, and Washington. And here's where shit gets crazy, all right? If Miami beats the Giants, that actually helps their chances of possibly getting the 1st overall pick. Hear me out. The Dolphins want to win, and they probably cannot get that 1st pick. But the Giants could easily end up with the 1st overall pick if the Bengals win just 1 game, which with the Tank Bowl finale between the Dolphins and Bengals December 22nd could happen if the Dolphins purposely lose that game and the Giants lose out and the Dolphins beat the Giants. In that scenario, New York would win or lose the tiebreaker, however you look at it in that scenario, because their strength of schedule is worse than the Bengals, because the Giants play in the all-time shittiest NFC East division. The Dolphins, with 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, have more draft trade ammo than any other team this offseason. So if they wanted to make a deal with the Giants, who do not need a quarterback for the 1st overall pick if the Giants land it, they could do so by beating the Giants Sunday and losing to the Bengals the following week and having the Giants lose out. And that is how the Dolphins could end up back on top of Tank Bowl, even by winning too many games. Sticking in the NFC East, Tripp Williams, we all know his story by now. The disgruntled Washington tackle does not trust the Potatoes medical staff after they nearly let him die for not properly diagnosing a cancerous growth on his head for years. New evidence, though, suggests the real reason Williams does not want to play in Washington is because of Dwayne Haskins and his propensity for sticking his hand up linemen's butts mid-play. You just can't have a QB so eager to play grab ass with anyone but the center, said Williams. That's a sacred bond, and I refuse to protect any quarterback who does not know that. The Cowboys have released kicker Brett Maher and signed veteran free agent kicker Kai Forbath, which means Bill Maher outlasts Brett Maher, which just proves we'll forgive you for saying the N-word, but not for missing field goals. In other kicker news, Adam Vinatieri has been placed on IR by the Colts, unceremoniously ending the career of the most clutch kicker the NFL has ever seen. Chicago Bears head coach Matt Nagy announced that linebacker Roquan Smith suffered a torn pectoral muscle and is out for the season. Another shitty thing to happen to the Bears this year. Roquan Smith joins Akeem Hicks on IR, which is terrible timing, as Mitch Trubisky's brain just came off of IR 2 or 3 weeks ago. Sources around the league, a phrase any asshole like me can make up, are saying Le'Veon Bell may be on the trading block this offseason with the Jets. Bell's 589 rushing yards and just 3 touchdowns through 12 games is the worst of his career. Unfortunately, those stats are too competitive for the Jets, who can't even beat the Giants at being the worst team in New York City. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Miami Dolphins. God bless you for keeping this season interesting, even as you shat the bed and then unshat the bed. But now, you could control everything. Show us you have a master plan, Miami.